Chapter 19. Diana. She had been alone before Rachel came, but she had not known what loneliness was. This sharp pain in her breastbone dragging down into a dull, persistent heaviness. My heart is heavy, she thought. It's not just a saying. It is what is heavy. A great stone lodged in my breast, pressing down my whole being. How can I even stand straight and look out upon the world? I'm doubled over into myself, and, for all the weight, find only emptiness. Workdays dragged by with nothing to look forward to at the evening bell. Rumor had it that the corporation had slowed the clocks to squeeze even more minutes out of the long summer shift. From time to time, she wondered why she was working so hard, now that the farm was sold and Rachel and Charlie lost to her. She brushed the question aside. She worked hard because work was all she knew, all she had. Everything else that had made her know herself as Lyddie Worthen was gone. Nothing but hard work. So hard that her mind had become as calloused as her hands. Work alone remained. She fell into bed exhausted, and only felt the full burden of her grief and dreams, which, determined as she was, she could not control. The weavers at the Massachusetts Corporation had all refused the agent's demand that they each tend 4 looms and take a piece rate reduction as well. They signed a pledge in defiance, and none of them backed down. The word went like a whispered wave through the Concord weaving room. Not a girl has backed down, not a one. Diana should have been elated. Wasn't it a victory for the association? But when Lyddie was finally able to rouse herself from her own pain, she saw that Diana's face was drawn, the expression grim and set. Since Rachel had gone, whenever Bridget or Diana had tried to reach out to her, she had shaken them off. No one could understand her loss, she was sure. She did not have the strength to bear their vain attempts to comfort. Then, suddenly, it was mid-July, and Lyddie realized that Diana was still at work, looking more sickly by the day. It was more than the heat of the weaving room. She's worried, Lyddie thought. She's sore troubled, and I, so bent on my own trial, never took it to mind. Lyddie tried to speak to Diana on the stairs, but she seemed hardly to hear the greeting. Are they threatening her with dismissal? With blacklisting? A chill went through Lyddie. She thought she had nothing else to lose, but suppose Diana was to go? Diana, the one person who, from her first day on, had treated her like a proper person, the only one who had never laughed at Lyddie's queer mountain speech, or demanded that she change her manners or her mind. All the girls took their burdens to Diana. She was always the one who came to help you. Nobody ever thought of Diana needing help. She's ill, like Betsy and Rachel and Prudence and a host of others, Lyddie thought. She's worked here too long and too hard. How much longer could Diana last? How much longer could any of them last? I must do something for her, Lyddie decided. Give her a present. There was only one present good enough. Diana? Lyddie worked her way through the jostling crowd of operatives crossing the yard. I've been thinking. She glanced around to see if anyone was listening, but all the girls were too intent on rushing home for their suppers. About the... Even now that she had made up her mind, she couldn't quite bring herself to speak the forbidden word in the very courtyard of the corporation. She took a deep breath. I've been thinking on signing. The older girl turned to her and put her hand on Lyddie's sleeve. Well, she said, and Lyddie couldn't quite make out the rest in the clamor of the yard, but it sounded something like, well, we'll see, as Diana let herself be carried away in the rushing stream of operatives. But I mean it, thought Lyddie. I mean it. Earlier in the spring, she had known that there were girls in her own house secretly circulating the petition, but now that she had made her mind up to it, she wanted to do it for Diana. How could it be a true present otherwise? After supper, she put on her bonnet and went to Diana's boarding house. She asked one of the girls in the front room of number 3 for Diana. Diana Goss? The girl asked with a sneer. It's Tuesday. She'll be at her meeting. Oh. The girl looked her up and down, as though memorizing her features. Maybe the girl was a corporation spy. Stare her down, Lyddie told herself. The other was shorter than she, so when Lyddie stood tall and looked down into her eyes, the girl shifted her gaze. It's at the reading room on Central Street. She glanced back at Lyddie. The sneer had returned. Number 76. All are welcome, so I'm told. In for a penny, in for a pound, thought Lyddie, and made her way into town. The meeting had already begun. Someone was reading minutes. The 40 or so girls crowded into the small room looked almost like a sewing circle. So many of the girls were doing mending or needlework. Hello, the young woman who seemed to be in charge interrupted the secretary's droning. Come on in. Lyddie stepped into the room, looking about uncertainly for a chair. To her relief, she saw Diana getting up and coming toward her. You came, she said, her tired features relaxing into a smile. It reminded her of that first night when she had gone to see Diana, except then Diana had looked lovely and full of life. She took Lyddie to a place where there were 2 vacant chairs and sat beside her while the meeting carried on. It was hard for Lyddie to follow the discussion. They were planning something for some sort of rally at the end of the month. She kept waiting for someone to mention the petition, so she could declare herself ready to sign, but no one did. At the first curfew bell, the woman in charge pronounced the meeting adjourned until the following Tuesday, and the girls broke into a buzz, gathering their sewing things together and putting on bonnets to leave. The woman who had been in charge came over to where Lyddie was standing with Diana. She stretched out her hand. I'm Mary Emerson, she said. Welcome. I think this is your first time with us? Lyddie shook the woman's hand and nodded. This is my friend, Lydia Worthen, Diana said. She's thinking about joining us. Miss Emerson turned expectantly to Lyddie. I come to sign the petition, Lyddie said. The woman cocked her head, seemingly puzzled. What was the matter with her? The one to ask for 10-hour workdays. Why was she explaining the petition to a leader of the movement? It was crazy. Maybe next year, Diana was saying quietly. No, I made up my mind to it. I want to do it now, tonight. But we've already submitted it, Miss Emerson said. We had to, before the legislature recessed for the year. She had at long last made up her mind to do it, and now it was too late. But next year, Diana repeated. You can put your name in the very first column if you like. Yes, said Miss Emerson brightly. That's our motto. We'll try again. Since 4,000 names didn't convince them, next year we'll have to get 8. She gave Lyddie the kind of encouraging smile a teacher gives to a slow pupil. We'll need all the help we can get. Lyddie stood there, open-mouthed, looking from Diana's thin face to the other woman's robust one. Too late. She'd come too late. She was always too late. Too late to save the farm. Too late to keep her family together. Too late to do for Diana the only thing she knew to do. We'd better get you back to number 5, Diana was saying, like she was some helpless child who needed tending. You wouldn't want to be late. They hurried down the dimly lit streets toward the Concord boarding houses without speaking. Lyddie wanted to explain, to say she was sorry, to somehow make it up to Diana, but she didn't know how to do it. As they neared number 5, Diana broke the silence. Thank you for coming tonight. Oh, Diana, I come too late. You came as soon as you could. I'm always too late to do any good. Lyddie, Diana was hesitating. I'll miss you. What was she saying? I ain't going nowhere. I'll be right here. Next year and the next. No, I'm the one who'll be leaving. But where would you be going? Diana had always said that the mill was her family. Boston, I think. I don't understand. Are you ailing? Lyddie, if I don't leave soon, right away, in fact, I'll be dismissed. It's because of the cussed petition. They're trying to get you. No, not that. I wish it were. They had stopped walking and stood several yards away from the steps of number 5. They both watched the heavy door swing open and glimpsed the light inside as 2 girls hurried in to beat the final bell. It's because... Oh, Lyddie, don't despise me. I could never do that. How could Diana say such a thing? Lyddie, I've been... Oh, I don't know, foolish? Wicked? What are you talking about? You could never be... Oh, yes. She was silent for a moment, as though sifting the words she needed from the chaff of her thoughts. I'm going to have a child, Lyddie. What? Her voice had dropped to a stunned whisper. She tried to search Diana's features, but it was too dark to read her expression. Who done this to you? She asked finally. Oh, Lyddie, no one done it to me. Then he'll marry you, eh? He's not free to marry. There's a wife in Concord. She wouldn't come to live here in a factory town, though her father is one of the owners. Diana's laugh was short and harsh. It was that doctor. Lyddie was sure of it. He looked so kind and gentle, and all the time, but what will you do? She could hear now the shrillness in her voice. She tried to tone it down. Where can you go? I've got some savings, and he's determined to help as he can. I'll find work. We'll manage, the baby and I. It ain't right. I'll need to go soon. I can't bring dishonor on the association. Any whisper of this, and our enemies will dance like dervishes with delight. She could hear the grim amusement in Diana's voice. I won't hand them a weapon to destroy us, not if I can possibly help it. How can I help you? Oh, Diana, I've been so blind. She touched Lyddie's cheek lightly. Let's just pray everyone has been as blind. I'll write you, if I may, tell you how things go. You've been so good to me. I'll miss you, little Lyddie. The final bell began to clang. Quick, slip in before they lock you out. Diana! But the older girl pushed her toward the door and hurried away down the street toward number 3. The word passed around the floor the next morning was that Diana Goss had left, snatching an honorable dismissal while she could still get it. Much more of her radical doings, and she would have been blacklisted, or so the rumors went.